The Lighthouse, a song by music icon Stevie Nicks and produced by Sheryl Crow. It's a warning to women.
Is it a nightmare? Is it a lasting scar? It is unless you save it. And that's that. Unless you stand up and take it back. Take it back. I had my scars. You have yours. Don't let them take your power. Don't leave it alone in the final hours. They'll take your soul, they'll take your power. Unless you stand up and take it back. Try to see the future and get mad. It's slipping through your fingers. You don't have what you had. You don't have much time to get it back.
Inspired by the overwhelming response to the reversal of Roe v. Wade, The Lighthouse is a glaring beacon of warning to women across America. Joining me now, two icons, Grammy-winning singers, songwriters, Stevie Nicks and Sheryl Crow. Stevie and Sheryl, welcome to Morning Joe. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Stevie, I'll start with you. Your body of work taps into truths about the human experience: grief, loss, resilience, Edge of 17. Independence and empowerment, Stand Back. Heartbreak, Dreams. Self-preservation, Belladonna. Power, Sisters of the Moon. Unity, The Chain. Strength and vulnerability, Leather and Lace. All human truths, and your writing confronts those truths. Now you have this song of warning, of intense warning, The Lighthouse. And Stevie, the words are not minced in this song. Don't close your eyes and hope for the best. It's slipping through your fingers. You don't have much time to get it back. Don't leave it alone in the final hours. So stark. Why? And what is the warning?
Well, it's like, don't look away. I think, you know, my mom and dad talked a lot about World War II to me, and a lot about Germany. And
My
they
parents
said,
were refugees of that war.
And I know that.
Yeah.
And it's like they would always say, don't, you know, my mom would say, never let this come to our shores. And my dad, and that's in a song I wrote called Show Them the Way.
Right.
And my dad would say, don't ever forget what your mother and I were fighting for.
And that's where we are
basically,
right
it was
now.
like, don't close your eyes and look away, because look at how many people closed their eyes and looked away. And when they looked away, so much was done. We went to bed and woke up the next morning, and Roe versus Wade had been dissolved. Unbeknownst to most of us, gone. And for somebody who's 76 and already lived through it.
50 years ago.
50 years ago, right. I graduated from high school in 1966. I was 18.
Yeah.
So from 66 till 73, the year that Buckingham Nicks came out, there was no Roe versus Wade. And then all of a sudden there was. And then until not very long ago, there was Roe versus Wade.
Right.
All those years. So I kind of feel very much, and did from the beginning, like very deja vu. Like, I've already lived through this. I've already seen it. It was in the shadows. It was a very shadowy conversation, and I was really young. It wasn't really affecting me, but I was very aware it was going on.
So I want to ask you about, I can't believe I'm about to say, Stevie Nicks called me at 9 o'clock on a Saturday night, but about what you called me about last Saturday night, about the inspiration for the song. The fall of Roe happened, and you were watching the news, I guess.
I was.
And tell me about it.
Because I've been watching Morning Joe and you, Morning Mika and Morning Joe, since like 2016. So I feel like I know you really, really well because I've been watching you for so long. So anyway, there was a day I thought you were going to crawl out of the television set.
Because women are not going to stand by idly and say, yeah, you can take away our rights. You can take away our personal rights. You can take away our sisters' rights. You can take away our daughters' rights. Forget it. Watch out. If I could have crawled through the television set,
You would
I
have.
would have.
Right.
I would have.
So from that morning onward, people started saying things like, somebody has to say, besides Mika, somebody has to say something. Somebody has to do something. And I'm like, okay, well, let's see. I have a platform. I go on stage every night. Now, I'm not going to go on stage in states that are going to hate me for it, but I can go on stage every night and at least think my thing out to the audience, right? So what can I do? I can write a song. I didn't sit right down at my desk to write a song. A couple of days later, I went to bed, and I just woke up early. I sat up in bed, and I started writing this poem, and I just like... And as you can see, I have a journal here that's like, kind of shows you like
Your process.
what I do. It's
Yeah.
like a lot. And in 20 minutes, the whole song, the words were written, 20 minutes.
Whoa.
And then my best friend came in and I said, you have to listen to this because we were on the road. And so I sang it and I went, gee, it's too bad we didn't like record it. And then Karen my assistant came in and I said, do you have your phone with you? Can you record this really fast? Because I'd found an instrumental, a crazy strange instrumental that was done by some people from Sweden and that we have yet to meet, but we love them so much because they really were part of this song. And I sang it right along to it. And it's the
Whoa.
original version that you hear.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's original. And I never wanted it changed because it had that that guttural
Raw.
feeling, you know, at 8:30 in the morning.
Take one.
Yeah. So we never did it. We never did the vocal over again. And Sheryl Crow, who ended up being the main producer, she was down with that. She said
Right.
that's good. We can do that. And we recorded it. So we actually had it, and I invited half of the band up to listen to it. And we went around the table, and they were like, my lead guitarist was like, that's very powerful. And my lead security guy was like, that's super powerful. And my makeup artist is like, it's really powerful.
It's incredible.
And it went, and I went, okay, then we're going to finish this
Yeah,
thing. We're
yeah.
going to do it.
Sheryl, let me ask you about this. If you could talk a little bit, please, about the message of the song and this process.
Well, first let me say, this is only one of the reasons that I love Stevie. And I think one of the reasons that her fan base love her is that she writes and she speaks from the heart. Everything that she does is authentic. She's one of the only people I know that is truly an authentic artist through and through. The way she lives, the way she views and experiences life is from an artist mindset. She draws, she paints, and she writes. She's constantly writing. I mean, if I could just have her journal for a year, I could write a 24 album or produce a 24 album set for Stevie just from her. I mean, she's insane. But when she brought me this was different because Stevie doesn't necessarily, throughout her career, she's not weighed in politics. But this was bigger for her than it was about the politics. And she, even though for a moment was like, is this gonna, she put that aside and this is something that is guttural, it is heart level for her. And you see after she did it on Saturday Night Live, how much it resonated with people. We're not used to seeing Stevie stand up there and sing about something that is, it's historical. And it's something that will affect generations to come. You know, obviously she and I are not necessarily affected deeply by whether we can have an abortion. You know,
Right.
That isn't the point. The point is for all of the women in this country to be able to have the opportunity to decide what happens with their bodies. So, I mean, when she brought me the song, you know, I just said, let's just figure out what paints the landscape in a way that you feel fortifies, you know, the basic spirit of the song. And it's just been a joy and an inspiration to work on this and watch her navigate it.
And then we took 2 years to refine it, to get it to the point where we both really said, it is finished.
It's ready. It's ready. Sheryl, I know you have to go because you're on the road, so I do want to ask you another question because you've been an advocate on many levels for years. You were on the board of Rock the Vote in the 90s. So what in the world is going on? If you could speak about simply stepping up at this moment and voting.
It's really filled me with consternation because of what it says about us in this moment of our humanity. You know, I think that when we elect a government leader, we elect very strong aspects of ourselves. I feel a lot of fear being admitted in order to motivate us to vote. For me, I look at this election as what do I want our country to feel like as I bring up two young boys who are asking very hard questions. They're asking hard questions about Roe versus Wade. They're asking questions about the environment, why the storms, what is happening. And I am going to the polls with the hope that my intention of voting the way that I will vote is representative of who I am as a human being. Who I am as a human being is someone empathetic, that is compassionate, that doesn't feel like the freedoms of other people rob me of my having a free and happy life, unless they're entitled to have military-grade weaponry and walk into my kids' schools. There are certain freedoms that we have to hold responsibly. I feel like our dialogue has gone so negatively in the last 6 or 8 years that we have to find a way back to the essence of who we want to be as individuals, and we need to look around and ask ourselves, where can I be helpful? Not who is my enemy because they don't believe the way I believe. And that's what I'm taking to the polls. I hope that we will all take that to the polls. I hope that we will align ourselves with what feels like a more hopeful future than what's necessarily being thrust or ejected or spewed, personally, at a lot of people in this country.
Such an important message from such a powerful voice. Sheryl Crow, I know you're literally on tour, so we appreciate your time here with us. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. Much more to talk about with Stevie Nicks, including what she says is one of her few regrets. We'll be right back. We're back with more of my conversation with rock legend Stevie Nicks, who says that when it comes to voting, she has one big regret. Stevie, it's a really frightening time. Be the beacon, be the lighthouse. What is your warning to all of us right now?
Well, you have to, I wrote in here, and then I have it in these typewritten pages that I can't hardly see.
That's okay.
For me, it was like, read the words, listen to the song, and vote. No matter what. And I mean, I suppose you probably know that I never voted till I was 70. But now I regret that. Right. And I've told everybody that on stage for the last 2 years. I regret that, and I don't have very many regrets.
Right.
You know, there's so many reasons you can say, well, I didn't have time. I was, you know, this and that. And you're like, you know, in the long run, oh, yeah, you didn't have an hour. You didn't have an hour of your time that you could have gone and voted.
If you're going to vote in an election, let it be this one.
Let it be this one.
Let it be this one.
Yes.
You know, voting is what you can do. And there are some people with a platform like you who can also bring voice to what's at stake here. What can others, female rockers, singers, icons, are there any that you can name who could do more at this moment? Isn't this the moment when we should be leaving it all on the stage?
Well, you know, really, if you think about it, no matter who wins,
Yeah.
God help us, no matter who wins, it's not over, right? I mean, the government, whatever, we have to figure out a way to bring back Roe versus Wade. I mean, we all had to pick causes. This was the cause I chose. So we have to, you know, so you know what? In the 60s and the end of the 50s and the 60s and going into the 70s, everybody was writing protest songs. Bob Dylan, Joan Baez, Joni Mitchell, Stephen Stills. It was like lots and lots and lots. So I would say to all of my musical poets that write songs, so write some songs about what's happening. like I did. I mean, and yes, it's scary. I mean, there was a point where I was going like, I'm pretty terrified to put this song out. And then I thought to myself, you know what, at 76 years old, really? So I'm putting this song out. And I'm loving putting it out because I do think people are listening to it.
I want to circle back to the actual music video that you put together, because at the beginning of the music video, the definition of Lighthouse fades onto the screen. A guide, a beacon of safety and hope, a way out of darkness. Is this the final hours, as you write? Is it? Or do you think in this election, women will be the beacon? Women will lead the way?
We absolutely will be. And when I said lighthouse, it's because, think about the lighthouse. And by the way, Mika, you are the lighthouse. You inspired this song. You are the lighthouse. You are the wisdom. You are the person that's putting this out on a TV station that goes out to the world in many ways. So you got to me, and I went and wrote The Lighthouse, right? And then when I said the same thing to Randy St. Nicholas, who directed that, I looked at her and said, she's in her 70s also, and I said, Randy, you are the lighthouse, because we've already been there. And you're just in it. You know what I mean? You're in it every day. We're not in it every day. But we are trying to get into it every day more like you are, because we all have to fight it. And so, like we said, whoever wins, the lighthouse needs to keep shining its light and also keep those ships from crashing into the rocks. Mm-hmm. And that's where my idea of the lighthouse being a protector, you know, protecting all those boats and ships that are coming in.
I want to close with a really, I'm trying not to be Debbie Downer here, but it's a really serious time. And I just interviewed 3 women who had reproductive emergencies and went through hell. One woman, Deborah, she was forced to carry a baby with Potter's syndrome to term, and he died in her arms. Another woman who is now sterile because she didn't get the abortion in time that she desperately needed. Another woman who had to prove she was bleeding out enough to get care. This is already happening now.
It is.
What do you say to people who don't see how consequential this election is?
That's a hard question for me to answer also. I think all I can do is say, well, go to the polls and vote then. Mm. Then vote your opinion. Whoever you're going to want to vote for, go and at least vote. Don't just sit home on the couch. Because, you know, maybe on the way, they might make a better decision. Who knows? But it's like, you're not ever going to get to every single person. But at least that's why I think music is so great, because music can really get to a lot of people.
Break through.
And when I said I was going to do this, I said, you know what, people might not agree with this. Like, people in my family might not agree with what I'm saying, but they're going to love this song. And that is the power of music.
You're the bridge.
And I am the bridge.
Yeah.
So this table is the bridge between you and me. We are both the lighthouses, and we just have to not quit. We just have to not quit talking about it.
Stevie Nicks, thank you so much for coming in. The Lighthouse is now available for streaming on all major platforms via Warner Records. Stevie, thank you so much for this conversation and the crucial message that you are sending to women across America.
You're so very welcome, and thank you for just being yourself. Thank you.
We'll be right back.